Neal Battaglia, saxstation.com. This video is an update about Jamkazam and Jamulus. Those are two different programs that you can use to play music with other people through the internet. A little while ago, I made a video about Skype and Zoom and Jamkazam, and I talked about Jacktrip. Basically, between those four options, it seemed like Jamkazam was the best option for me at that time. Since then, Jamkazam has actually done quite a few different updates. I think I've logged in at least 4 or 5 times and seen an update for the program. So basically, there's renewed interest in the program. Also, just a few days ago, they announced that they're going to kind of change their structure for the program. They're going to make it so that you can use it for free still, but the options will be very limited. And there will be 3 different levels that you can pay for to get better service. So basically, that means they're working on the program and that it will keep getting better. And they outline exactly what you can and cannot do with the different levels for their program. During this month, December 2020, they're going to let everyone continue to use all the different options that are within the program. And then starting on January 1st, it's going to be limited if you don't pay for it. And then if you pay for it, you can choose between the different options that they offer. Part of the reason they did the updates was because they were fixing different problems within the program. But that did mean there were problems that you kind of had to get through. So sometimes I would try using it and it wouldn't be working for one reason or another. Sometimes the problems actually were caused by the equipment, either what I was using or what someone else was using. And sometimes you actually do have the right equipment that would make it work well, but depending on when you plugged it in relative to when you turned on the program, it might use, for example, the internal mic of your computer instead of the external mic that you plugged in. The way I heard about Jamulus actually was from a YouTube comment on my previous video that was mentioning Jamkazam and the other programs. So I heard that, and the person who left the comment was basically saying they preferred Jamulus to Jamkazam, so I figured I'd check it out. With Jamulus, it's a different program. There are some similarities with Jamkazam, but there also are some key differences. One difference is that it's only audio. You won't have any video options like you do on Jamkazam. That part didn't really bother me because I think if you switch to only audio, you'll get better latency. For both programs, you probably want to be using headphones. It's better if you have an audio interface. You can use a USB microphone. I've used that before with Jamkazam. And you want a wired internet connection, so an Ethernet cable plugged into your computer. Also, a computer. You need a computer to run these. They won't work on your phone or your tablet. So Jamkazam was doing a crowdfunding thing, and they raised some money that way. But I think more and more people started to use their program, and they wanted to make it better. So that's when they introduced this new pricing scheme. If you stick with a free plan for Jamkazam for now, I think you can do 4 different sessions and a limit of 1 hour for each session in a month. One of the things that I like within Jamkazam is that they have public sessions and private sessions, and they're both easy to set up. Basically, if you know people who also use Jamkazam, you can set up a list of friends, you can contact them easily, you can invite them to a session, and it's all pretty easy to do. There are also public sessions. So today I actually checked out 3 different public sessions on Jamkazam. One of them had like a piano player and a vocalist and then a drummer who was playing the harmonica, and they were kind of playing together, and they were just kind of playing together. I listened for a little bit, but they didn't really leave much space to fill in anything because like there were harmonica fills and there's the voice and the drums and everything. I went into one public session in Jamkazam and there's some different guitar players and bass players. It didn't seem too structured, so I listened for a little bit and then I took off. And the last public session that I went to in Jamkazam was kind of a jazz jam, so I stayed there and played a few songs. In that session, it was mostly people from the United States, and there's a saxophone player from Germany in there as well. So he was playing tenor, I was playing soprano sax. So basically, because he was across the Atlantic, there was that issue of distance. And in the other video, I talked about the speed of light, which is about 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second, and the speed of sound, which is about 340 meters per second. So basically, the speed of sound is more of a limitation when you're physically with people, and the speed of sound is basically the universal speed limit, so you can't really go faster than that. And the distances from California to Oregon, say, or California to Germany are going to be significantly different in terms of the ability for the computers to communicate with each other quickly. With Jamulus, for now it's still a free program. You don't have to pay for it. I'm not sure if that's going to change sometime in the future. But there's one kind of major difference between Jamulus and Jamkazam. With Jamulus, you can join public sessions. There's a maximum of 4 people per public session. You can either go in and set up your own server and tell people what it is, or you can join one of the public sessions that's already out there. I did that one time with a jazz session and I kind of sat in and played a little bit. I basically sat in on that public session to see how my equipment worked and see if I could hear people and all that. The main thing that I was actually trying to do with Jamulus was rehearse with our reggae band, the Rudians. So we tried it out and it seemed to work pretty well. We were using audio interfaces on both ends and I was using headphones on my end. Later on when we're rehearsing, we're plugging into the soundboard over there. When you're using Jamulus, you can hear what you're playing, like a monitor. You can also turn that down if it's kind of getting in the way of what you're trying to do. So at one point with the rehearsal, they were listening to me, but they turned themselves down in their own mix within Jamulus, so it wouldn't cause any problem. Overall, it seems like Jamulus works pretty well, and we're going to continue to use it for rehearsal. It takes quite a bit more technical savvy to set up a private session to play in Jamulus. What we used for rehearsals was actually a public session, but sometimes that meant people would kind of go into the session and listen, try and play something, and that wasn't really ideal. What you can do is you can click the solo on the people that you want to hear, or you can click mute on the person that you don't want to hear. You can still use a public session, which is easy to set up to do rehearsal. To do a private session, you kind of have to know about your server. You have to set something up. You basically have to open the door in the server where it'd usually be shut in order for someone to kind of connect to your computer and to your server. I think I almost understand how to do it. I'm going to probably try that pretty soon, but it does take some more technical knowledge in order to do that. It's not really built into the program to do easily, but it is possible. When you have a private session, you can also record it. So here's actually a short clip of my friend playing piano and playing saxophone. We were playing the tune Alone Together, so here's a little bit of that. So as you heard, I think the audio quality is pretty good. It might be a little bit scratchy here and there, but I think that's to be expected. Here's the audio interface that I'm using on my end. It's a Scarlett Focusrite. So there's an input for my microphone. On the back, there are 2 1/4-inch outputs. I ended up using one of those for headphones when I was on Jamkazam today. With Jamulus, I tend to use the interface for the microphone, and I plug into the audio jack on the computer to plug in my headphones. Here's a private session on Jamulus that I was playing with 2 friends. So you can see that there's 3 people in the session, and there is kind of an empty space where another person could join. So there are a maximum of 4 people. You've got options to mute yourself, mute the other people, solo them so that they can be heard, etc. And there are other settings within Jamulus that you can change if you want to. This is the opening screen in Jamkazam, so you have the different options in the red boxes. So you can create a session, you can join a session, you can use their tracks. There's kind of different things you can do. Once you get into a session, it kind of looks like this. You can see the different people. You can see the latency and different measurements connected to it based on their device, on their internet connection, all that stuff. This is what some of the servers look like within Jamulus, so the public servers. So you can join them if you want to, and or you can create your own, and they'll be available for other people to join, with a maximum of 4 people in one session. So after making that first video about playing music online with other people, I saw that comment, and that's kind of what got me to check out Jamulus. With more funds coming into the program for Jamkazam, I think that it will continue to improve. At this point, I basically think that I like what Jamulus does better for what I'm doing, but I see the benefit in what Jamkazam can do. So I think that Jamulus is better for me for what I'm trying to do right now, but I probably will check out Jamkazam, especially in January, to see what it's like after the new changes take effect. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer Jamkazam or Jamulus? And do you have any questions about either one? On saxstation.com, I have different classes and lessons available. You can connect with me more there. You can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc.